Hey guys, and welcome to Spy Speed. Here we'll be reviewing some of the top 10s of my choice for the A1 license here in Europe. And yeah, well, let's just get it started. First off, on my number 10 choice, it's the Kymco K-Pipe. And the Kymco is from a Chinese company called, Kymco. And that's also why it's called the K-Pipe. I guess it stands for Kymco Pipe. It's a 4-stroke 125. It's, well, nothing too big seriously, but it puts out of about 8 horsepower at 7,500 RPMs and about 6 foot-pounds of torque at 5,500 RPM. It's a 4-speed semi-automatic chain-driven. There's nothing really much to say about it. It's a little bit skinny bike, and well, yeah, it's a 125, and it's trying to go into the market of the Honda MSX or the Honda Grom, it's called also. And this bike will do about 65 miles per hour. So it would be best suited around town, but could also go around the countryside. But I would prefer doing it through the city in the traffics or something, because it's small and nimble, so it would be easy to hang around there. So on my number 9 spot is the Honda Grom, and the Honda Grom is or MSX as it's called here in Europe, for Mini Street Extreme 125. It's a small mini bike compared with ordinary motorcycles. It's very small, but it has the 125 Honda engine, fuel injected. It's a 4-speed, chain driven, and this motor is more for the hooligans, you would presume, but you've seen a lot of YouTube videos for this bike where people do wheelies and stunts. It's like every Honda Grom owner is some kind of half stunt driver inside, but still doesn't want to spend too much money on a real stunt bike. But this is also a fun little bike to start off with for the small licenses. So next up here is the KTM 125 Duke, and the Duke is a very cool bike. It's one of the KTMs built in India. It's a 4-stroke 125 liquid cooled engine. So this one is on one of the cheaper KTM models. It's been around since 2012, and this small cool bike is very sought after by younger people, because that's also what it's been marketed for since the start. So it's making the limit of power at 15 horsepower. So for the A1 license, this is at the top of the limit for power. So next one here is actually one I looked at myself when I was getting into motorcycles. This is the Kawasaki D-Tracker 125, also derived from the KLX 125 trail bike. So it has the same engine, but it's mildly tuned, so it doesn't make as much power as the KLX. This motorcycle is actually very small, which was why I didn't get it myself. It was also very disappointing in reviews all over, all the journalists and so, all the reviews in the magazines. This bike wasn't very good. The tires were too small, and well, the only positive thing actually to say about it was the fuel economy was pretty good. It does 75 miles per gallon. And the engine is nothing really to talk about. It has 10 brake horsepower, but well, from my standpoint, the looks of it, on the picture at least, it looks pretty good, but I didn't find it as appealing when I saw it. So here we have one of the more fancy bikes. It's the Yamaha MT125. It's from Yamaha, from the MT or FC line, but only with a 125 motor in it. So this has 15 horsepower, and this shares the same engine as the CF R125. And I actually tried the not bigger brother, because the one I tried had a 150cc engine. It's from the Asian market, the one I tried, and it actually got a decent handling as well. It's very light and very flickable. And what I heard about from here in Europe, this bike also got pretty good ratings for newer riders, and with the 15 horsepowers and only like 138 kilos wet, this is pretty good and pretty awesome for an A1 license. Up here is another Yamaha. It's the YCF R125. And this little sport bike was actually quite surprising to me, because I was researching for this list here, and when I first learned about this, Yamaha almost had forgot about the 125 before making this. The YZF R6 here is a follow-up of the TZR 125. And this little bike here was going to compete with Aprilia's RS125, which was a 2-stroke, and this is a 4-stroke. But Yamaha somehow gave it a longer stroke, so this 125 here would have a longer range of torque. So in this sort of way, it would compete with the 125's 2-strokes, because it would have a more suitable and usable power. So here's a bike that I actually first, when I saw it, was like, damn, this is a cool bike. And I actually thought it was a bigger bike, but it's actually a 125. It's the FB Mondial HBS 125 Hipster from 2017, so it's actually a pretty new model. This small 125 here is from the Italian company FB Mondial, and this small fuel-injected 125 makes about 13.5 horsepower, so it's pretty decent for the size of engine. And well, there's nothing really much to say about this bike, but damn, just look at it. It's so beautiful. But then again, that's what the Italians do. They make a bike that looks pretty cool. So next up here is actually a split between two bikes. Well, I say two bikes, but it's actually kind of the same. It's the Hyosung 125 GT, both naked and the R model. So this is actually quite special, because instead of like a single cylinder 125, this has a 125 V2 engine. So this was kind of interesting to me, because these kind of engines usually have a lot of torque, and from what I've seen, it's also the picture that they do have a little bit more torque than the average 125, and this Korean bike is actually also pretty cheap. So I haven't read any reviews of the build quality on these, if they break down a lot, or I haven't heard anything pretty bad about them yet. So it's not that they're new, but I just haven't heard anything bad about them. So next up here is actually probably the best sport bike you're going to get for the A1 license. It's the KTM RC 125. This small 125 has the exceeding limit of 15 brake horsepower. This fuel-injected motor is pretty cool. This sport bike is, well, from my understanding, the best sport bike you're going to get in the A1 license. It handles well, it has the good engine here, they're stable, very torquey, and it has very good race performance that you should be able to live with every day. So this is very a corner happy bike, which you're going to be able to take out in the twisties and actually maybe overtake some of the bigger engines, because this bike is where all the handling learning is. You're going to be so much of a better rider if you have been starting out on this bike. So last up here on my number one spot is the bike that I hated but now love for the 125 series or the A1 license. This is the Aprilia RS5 125. So I should start arguing why I hated it from the start off. Well, the RS4 took off one of the bikes that I loved the most from the market, and that was the RS125, the 2-stroke version of this bike. My love for 2-strokes exceeds everything else in the bike world, but as for the times and the emission standards, this is simply not the time to do two strokes. But this bike here, it carried over all the looks and all the handling features from the RS125. And this bike is pretty cool. It has the looks of the RSV series, the RSV4s, which are the V4 1000cc's super sports. And this bike here carries over the looks, and it is probably the closest you're going to get to a race replica, except from the Yamaha that I mentioned earlier. This bike here does the racing replica very just. This is a seriously cool bike, and this actually I've seen and sat on and in real life, and it's pretty decent in size matters. It's very, very cool, and when you drive up on this, even though you go slow, and well, let's just say if people doesn't know anything about bikes, they'll think this is a big and fast bike, because that's the way it looks, and that's also the way it was created. So this was why it was my number one spot. It's simply just so cool, so Italian, so sporty, and that, yeah, it was so cool. So thank you guys for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe. And if you have any ideas for what I should be doing with the future of my channel here, because this is my first video here, so I'm pretty much getting into this stuff, but I like motorcycles very much, and that's also why I started the channel. So yeah, bring on all your ideas. Nothing is too bad to be discussed. So yeah, well, also if you have some kind of better ideas, or if you think I was wrong about anything on the list here, feel free to tab in the comment section, and we can start a discussion on that. That would be pretty cool. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.